guys, so as promised, this is my Scottish 40th birthday big adventure video. So if any of you are here thinking this is anything to do with the royal family, this is not the video for you, but I will be back with a normal royal gossip video coming to you tomorrow afternoon. So where to begin with this one? Well, where did I leave off? We left off with my Amy Farrah Fowler moment where I had a tiara, if you remember, and this in itself was a big enough surprise for me. I haven't had a surprise birthday party since I was a kid. I didn't think that I could get any better present, but lo and behold, my husband had been plotting and planning and scheming behind my back, and I couldn't love him any more for it. So I get given 1 day's notice, pack, we're going away, we're going up north, so we're gonna have sort of an outdoorsy holiday. He then decided to give the fidgety me a little clue that we were going up to Glasgow for the night. Amazing! I've never been to Scotland. Glasgow, perfect. So we were checking into a hotel. That's all I knew. So when we got there, we'd been driving for 7.5, 8 hours. And it was quite late, about 8 in the evening. And we managed to just find a restaurant over the road. It turned out to be one of the best Italians I have ever had in my life. If you ever find yourself in Glasgow and you want an Italian, honestly, I can't recommend this place enough. It was called La Laterna and the food was phenomenal. But so was the smug grin on my husband's face. And that's because he still knew that there was more of an adventure outside of Glasgow that we were actually heading to. So with a slightly sore head the next day, we then set off. And the landscapes. Now, I didn't know how to show you this without actually showing video clips because photos just don't do it justice. And I've never seen landscape like I did. It was like going through country after country after country. And I can definitely see, it reminded me, some of it was like Lord of the Rings, the misty mountains. At one point, my husband thought it was funny and actually put on the Hobbit soundtrack. But as you can imagine, these views, I've never seen anything like this in my life. And the expanses of water you go past, truly breathtaking. Just when you think you've found one bit of the countryside that you've never seen that's more beautiful, you go over another bit. So naturally, you've got to get out the car, take photographs, pose for selfies. But I have never experienced anything like this in my life. So this is where I started really annoying my husband at this point because we just kept driving. We'd stop, we'd drive some more. And as you can see here, the terrain, there was no hotels, didn't look like there was anywhere to go glamping. And we were just driving past, as you can see. There were waterfalls, there were mountains, literally driving through ravines, being surrounded by landscapes like this. Absolutely blew my brain apart. It was only when we started smelling the sea air, I realised that we were, because they've got lochs obviously all over Scotland. I was like, no, we're obviously on the coastline, or we're so far up north, we're about to drive into the sea. It felt like it at this point. And this is when I found myself bundled into a back of a vehicle by a nice man called Andy. We got out the car, he grabbed all of our stuff, and he drove us down to a little jetty. And this is when the confession came out that my husband had rented an entire island for my 40th birthday. So we went across to, and I will give you the name now, the Isle of Carna. Again, more photographs of my husband looking incredibly smug with himself. So the orange boat there, they actually tow that with the boat that they take you over, and you are allowed to use it while your stay is on the island. They give you health and safety training, which it does obviously give you access if you do need to go back across to the mainland, but it means that you can go exploring, not just on land, but on water as well. So as we sailed across and came into the cottage, I naturally had to give you guys a tour of it. And it's just every room you go into, it's just view after view. They've got a beautiful little conservatory that you can sit out inside. The kitchen, yeah, he's giving us the wave there. There is not a single room in this house that a window just doesn't again look out onto breathtaking scenery. It's got absolutely everything that you can imagine that you need in there. That fireplace honestly toasts up the entire house. It's underfloor heating, so once you've got it burning for a little while, your feet get nice and toasty. Everything about the cottage is quaint and it's pretty and it's just enough. The cottage is what we stayed in and it's meant for 6 people. It's got 2 single beds. The sofa in the living room does turn out into another bed, and then you've got the main double bedroom. We were perfectly fine, just the 2 of us, but I could see, a family of 4 or even 6 people could fit quite comfortably there. You are allowed to take your dogs over to the island. We opted out of it because of Chia. She needs constant supervision and we wanted to do a lot of hiking. There is a danger with her, and especially like a lot of the mountains, we didn't want injuries to happen to them. But trust me, they had their very own special doggy holiday. So once you are there and the boat leaves, that's when it hits you that you are completely on this island all by yourself. There is just you two. There is a CB radio. You do have internet intermittently, which gives you enough to WhatsApp, but we found most of the time we were there, we didn't have access to the internet. Sounds terrifying for some people. Absolute breath of fresh air. Truly amazing. And we just behaved like children. We spent our time exploring the island, as you can see, driving tractors. There are some residents on the island, 9 Highland cross cows, and they're there as part of a rewilding project due to the damage that sheep often cause, because obviously sheep eat everything. But the views are just mind-blowing to have that peace and quiet. You cannot hear anything. I was so happy that he could surprise me and manage to sneak all of this behind my back. There's loads of seaweed. They have sea otters. It's completely tidal. They have quartz, wild quartz. Oh, it's wild quartz. It grows absolutely everywhere. The rock formations there. You literally go from room to room, no matter what you're doing, making a cup of tea, sitting down or having a glass of wine, and you just end up staring out of every single window. I thought maybe, oh, this might be a bit much. Would we get bored? And no, you don't. You don't. It takes a couple of days to detox, but you just put on your clothes, you go outside. You do need wet weather gear, I will tell you that. Because it's the Highlands, it's Highlands weather, and it changes within seconds. You can have gale force winds, hail, snow, then you get sunshine. But as long as you go there well prepared with walking boots and wet weather gear, you'll have a great time. The moss and the scenery that we saw, with the exception of this creeped me out. My husband made a laugh and he was like, oh, we should go over and inspect it. It could be where someone buried their pets. And I'm like, did you never read Stephen King when you were growing up? So we avoided that bit. They've got a lot of flora and fauna and stuff that grows. They look like miniature forest, and that's just on the rocks. As for the forest themselves, as you can see, the trees here are so old. It's absolutely mind-blowing that you can hike all over this. It is tiring though. At this point, he said, smile for the camera. And I'm like, I am smiling. He said, can you try and look a bit more motivated? So I naturally posed in my best style. You can see where there was like houses here before. I felt like I was actually starring in Outlander in some of it. You know, I had honestly had to pinch myself so many times because this place was unreal. From sitting down in front of the fire, reading about Scottish birds, to watching my husband play that he was Captain Birdseye or Captain Pugwash when he was allowed to control the boat. We both had a go. But he had the time of his life there. I mean, neither of us have ever driven a boat before. We had a crash course in training, but we were perfectly fine. And you dry off afterwards, you know, that's my boots drying in front of the fire. You've got a lovely, huge bathroom that you can just relax in. As you can see, a glass of wine followed me everywhere on this holiday. We did lots of cooking between us. And again, we just spent the whole time just talking and walking outside and getting immersed in nature. I didn't bother with makeup most days. These photographs of my husband there, they're mind-blowing. It reminds me of like Gulliver's Travels. He looks so tiny in the background, but this is the breathtaking expanse of where you are. You cannot believe how much you can take in. You could literally just stand there outside twirling all day long. Now, this is one of the cows. This is Big Red. They walk everywhere. Don't be surprised if you open the door first thing in the morning and there is a cow right outside. We spent so much time just home cooking and having so much time for each other. This is my Stilton and mushroom soup. It is phenomenal on a cold day when you have been out driving the boat, I can tell you. So when we went out, we managed to find lots of wild seals. We also had porpoises swim under the boat. I had to think then, dolphins, porpoises. There is so much there. There's wild deer everywhere as well. There are otters, sea otters, but we didn't see them. We did come across their den and I saw their poop, but I didn't see them because of these. This is the closest that I could get to a shot of one of the eagles, but because the eagles come out when the sun comes out, it means the otters tend to stay nocturnal for survival purposes, obviously. There is another cottage over the other side, and that is the larger one that people can use if you've got a family of 8. The rest of the place, you just literally get up every single day. You walk across streams and rivers, and you can occasionally find your husband reliving his childhood. It's tidal where you are, so it means that when the tide goes out, you can spend a lot of time, you can walk really, really far out, and the tide also comes up really high and it can come in fairly quickly. So if you're out rock climbing, you need to make sure that the wind, which is easier said than done, and the tide is on its way out. Another amazing thing is the amount of rainbows, because it is generally raining quite a lot, but the sun does come out intermittently. So aside from posing for stupid shots and my husband trying to work out whether anyone could hear him, which they can't. It sounds a little bit creepy, like a horror film. No one can hear you scream, but I tell you, it's absolutely one of the best things we have ever done in our entire life. I cannot tell you how happy we were. My husband pretending that he's a rock star here. But the things that you do, you can just, even as an adult, we detox from absolutely everything. From me, it wasn't just social media, it was even talking to people on the phone. There is so much exploring that you can do that my husband and I became children again. And that is unbelievable in this day and age, that there's places that still exist that let you do this. We were very lucky. We went out and we managed to see the seals on another day as well, and I'd managed to capture a video clip. Most of these are pups where their mums go off hunting, and there's a few of them that are babysitting. You make sure, even on the boat, this is me using a zoom lens to keep your distance though, because you don't want to spook them. It is a reminder that these are all wild. So the day came after a week of this amazing detox when we had to leave the island, but we decided that we weren't quite ready to go home, and we decided to go on another mini adventure before we left. Now, this bridge that you can see, this bridge is a famous bridge, and it was used in the Harry Potter films. It's actually called the Glenfinnan Viaduct, and they even had a platform 9 3/4 in the gift shop. So off we went again on another little adventure, and the scenery again just blows your brain apart. You can really see how people come up to Scotland for inspiration for films. And of course, you can't go to Scotland and not go to Loch Ness. It's 56 kilometres straight through the middle, and it's like 86 kilometres to walk round the circular. It takes 2.5 hours to drive around the whole of Loch Ness, and 5.7 days to comfortably walk it with breaks and overnight stays. So we were only there for an hour, so we went to Fort Augustus, where we stopped in a pub for a bite to eat. I had to try haggis, because you can't go to Scotland and not try haggis. And I also got my first Scottish note, which I am keeping. Yes, it's legal tender still in England, but it is just one of those things that you can have for a keepsake. Fort Augustus is absolutely beautiful as well. You can have riverboat tours on the Loch Ness. There's gorgeous old buildings and houses and pubs, and even an old monastery called Fort Augustus Abbey, which actually housed monks and young boys until 1993. To be stood at the edge of Loch Ness is also mind-blowing, not because you're hoping to see Nessie, but it's just that there's just something about being that submerged in nature, and you realise we really are just ants on this earth, you know. There is just so much out there, and again, this is just over the English border to Scotland. I cannot absolutely wait to go here again. Now, naturally, if you're going to be in Loch Ness, you've got to pose on the Loch Ness sign, just to prove to the world that you're actually there and you're not making it up. One minute you're in a really historical looking village, and the next minute you have got views. I know I keep referencing it, but it's like you're Frodo and you're on a trip to Mordor. Speaking of which, we managed to find this, and it actually looked like a map from Lord of the Rings, but it's actually the Lagan Dam. Now, I've never been close to a dam before. The noise from the water is really roaring. But again, the size of these structures and the work that's gone into them and how long that they've been there, even like I said, with the Harry Potter train bridge, with the viaduct in Glencoe, it's truly breathtaking that all of this is in Scotland, and we barely even scratched the surface on this trip. It's one of the best places I've ever been in the entire world, and for anyone that's ever thinking about going to Scotland on holiday, do it. Absolutely do it. As long as you're quite happy driving, you'd be surprised the amount of mileage that my little car managed to do. But to be honest with you, normally driving, if you're on the motorway, it's boring as hell. But doing this sort of driving, you don't care. Going through the Lake District, going through the Yorkshire Dales, It's just absolutely one of the best decisions and one of the best surprises that my husband has ever done. So once we finally left Loch Ness, we decided that we were not going to do the 10-hour drive in one hit home. We went back to Glasgow and naturally had a cheeky cocktail just to finish up the holiday. So overall, as I said, from start to finish, it is 10.5 hours driving. That is not counting if you get stuck in traffic, but it has been one of the best experiences of my life. And I did happen to come back with two of the best key rings that I've seen for a while. I've got myself some Scottish Highland cows and some tartan Shaun the sheep. So I hope I haven't bored you too much with this. As I said, I didn't really know how to do it. I hope you enjoy the video, and I really hope that this video encourages any of you to visit Scotland. What a place. So for those of you that want details on Isle of Carna, I will put in the description of the video, which you can click on, or you just literally this website that I've put here. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will be back with some royal news. Take care for now. Bye.